Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to discuss how to defend our art, how to protect our art. Now, you may ask, what would make me want to talk about how to protect our art? Well, think about it. Look at all the money and time you invest in your art. Is that something that you just want to let somebody corrupt or destroy? Of course not. So, we're going to discuss a few ways on how to go about protecting it. Stick around. What I want to do first of all is read to you a quote by a lady named Alice Bailey. Um, and the quote goes, and I quote, "Debase art, make it run mad," end quote. So what does that mean? Now the reason I'm reading to you this quote is because this lady was very influential. She was a very influential public figure. And according to the sources from my research, she was part of some sort of New Age movement, some sort of New Age, I guess, religious movement. But the subject we're talking about today is protecting art, so that's the main thing. So since we're talking about protecting art, that's what caught my attention. That's why I couldn't move past that when I heard it. And I said, let me do a video about this, because in the art world, we kind of have this thing where there are no rules or no restrictions on art, right? But imagine that, because art can hurt people, right? Art can be used as a weapon. Like anything else, it can be used as a weapon to actually hurt people. We don't want to hurt people, right? We want to protect people, especially children, people who can't protect themselves. So I found that I think there's something we need to discuss at this point, because we can make art videos showing drawings and paintings and all kinds of stuff, but let's discuss art. Let's talk about our art. Now, I want to read to you what I wrote down here. All right, so getting back to the lady that we were just talking about, Alice Bailey. It says, Alice Bailey understood that the arts are one of the primary keys to change culture. And that's true, right? We see through music and dancing and photography and video, we see how influential it is today. So let's talk about how. Like how does art change culture, actually change culture? Art is the language of the spirit. That which is inside can be brought out through painting, music, drawing, dancing, etc. Just look at the quality, spirituality, and message of the art, music, and films that are coming out now. And that's true. I mean, just think about some of the things that we see coming out now. Some of the stuff is kind of a little shaky, right? So that's why we want to be, I guess you would say, gatekeepers to a degree. And I know a lot of people won't like that because some people don't want to follow rules at all. But everything needs to have rules, right? Because again, art can be used as a weapon, just like anything else. So we want to try to use it in a way that's productive and conducive to a better society. So let's get more into that.
Well, this statue of Theodore Roosevelt outside the Museum of Natural History in New York City is coming down. The statue has drawn protests over the years, which have only intensified in recent weeks. It shows our 26th president on horseback with a Native American man and an African man standing next to him.
I've seen a few artists on YouTube that have expressed their sentiments about being believers, and that's cool. You know, it's nothing to be ashamed of. Some of us actually believe in the Most High, God, of the Bible. This particular piece is entitled The Equestrian by an artist named James Earl Frazier. Now, what seems to me like a very, very controversial statement The artist is quoted as saying, quote, "As a boy, I remember an old Dakota trapper saying, the Indian will someday be pushed into the Pacific Ocean." The artist later said that, quote, "The idea occurred to me of making an Indian which represented his race reaching the end of the trail at the edge of the Pacific," end quote. It's a magnificent piece. Like the craftsmanship is A1. It's superb. It's excellent. It gets a little deep. This is actually prophetic. This piece is actually prophetic. You may say, prophetic in what sense? Well, if you go to Ecclesiastes 10 and 7 in the KJV, it reads, "I have seen servants upon horses and princes walking as servants upon the earth." Now, the New American Version says, "I've seen slaves on horseback while princes walked on the ground like slaves." So you may be seeing Teddy Roosevelt as a servant or a slave, not this great, honored, and revered white man, American white man who everybody seems to love, and this so-called native Indian and so-called black man is princes, being regarded as a prince. Not the way we see these people. Well, stick around and you'll learn a little more about it in later videos. And yes, I still think that this piece should be protected regardless of its history, the intent, or the controversy that surrounds it, because this is an excellent teaching tool.
Action News reporter Becca Hendrickson spoke to Roosevelt's great-great-grandson about the controversy.
If you look at it now, I think it gives the wrong message.
Kermit Roosevelt III is a professor at Penn Law. He thinks the statue conveys a racist message.
I think the problem is you've got one white man on a horse and then a native person and an African person walking along behind, below, in this subordinate posture.
The statue has stood at the entrance to the American Museum of Natural History in New York since 1940. Sunday, the city announced it's coming down, calling it, quote, problematic. The museum said in a statement in part, the statue itself communicates a racial hierarchy that the museum and members of the public have long found disturbing.
That's a statue that people thought at the time was celebrating something great about him, but people's thinking at the time was very inflected by white supremacy.
President Trump tweeted about the statue's removal, saying, "Ridiculous, don't do it." Roosevelt said he hopes his great-great-grandfather is remembered for his work in conservation.
He wanted a society where what's best about America, including our natural parks, our natural resources, was shared widely and available to everyone.
I asked Kermit what he thinks should happen to the statue, and he says he doesn't think it belongs on display anywhere.
Okay, so back to Miss Alice Bailey. Let's see what she was talking about when she's talking about making the art run wild or run mad. Mad, and I'm thinking she means mad in the sense of crazy or insane. We got all kind of art, right? We got abstract art that, looks wild. Some of it looks wild, and you see people express themselves in a lot of different ways. But it sounds to me like she's saying run mad as if she means from a moral standpoint. And so that's really what I want to get into. I mean, look at some of this beautiful art around my city. I mean, it's all over the place. And this art inspires, it motivates, it brightens up the scenery. And a real quick disclaimer. Please do not go out here writing on other people's or drawing or painting on other people's property. Make sure that you have some sort of official authority legally to do so, or you're going to have some problems. You're going to get your behind locked up. Now, when I first heard this, I'm thinking, who would want to purposely corrupt art? I mean, we love art, right? Who doesn't love art? Who doesn't love or like some sort of crazy design that somebody thought about that, I don't know, it makes you it inspires you. Who doesn't look for that? According to a lot of Christianity teachers, they're saying Ms. Alice Bailey had a 10-point plan to destroy Christianity, I think it's just an attempt to subvert biblical morality. Number one being to take prayers out of the education system or the school system. Number two, reduce parental authority over the children. Number three, destroy the Judeo-Christian family structure. Number four, make sex free, make abortion legal, and make it easy. Number five, make divorce easy and legal, free people from the concept of marriage. Number six, make homosexuality an alternative lifestyle. And number seven, as we've discussed, debase art and make it run mad. Number eight, use media to promote and change the mindset. Number nine, create an interfaith or non-denominational movement, which sounds like that's what she did. And number 10, get the government to make all these things laws, and then get the Christianity followers and their church to endorse these changes. And don't get me wrong, Papa Ghost is not the art police. So it's not up to me to tell you what to do with your art, how to do your art, because I'm going to afford you the same courtesy I expect. Because when something inspires me, I'm going to do it. But at the same time, I try to be responsible. I try to implement some of the morals that I've been taught. Morality-based art, I'll put it like that. Morality-based art, because morality is subjective. Your morals could be something totally at odds with the standards of society. You know, it's a normal thing to want to stand out and be seen and be different. But again, we got to be responsible. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand that there is adult art, that there's art that should be restricted only to adults. But that's just the thing. As long as it's restricted only to those adults who are responsible and who have minds who are developed, and not the children or those minds that have not been developed, then that's where we get into the weed set, because this art can influence in a negative way, and it could cause young minds to go down the wrong paths. So we got to be careful with that. Now, hopefully we learned a little bit about how to begin thinking about how to protect the integrity of our art. We took a look at a very talented sculptor named James Earl Fraser, and we looked at a very, very influential, prolific writer named Alice Bailey, who, in my opinion, didn't have the best intentions of the direction on where art should go. But that's just my opinion. Again, because we have children who are into the animation and they love watching the cartoons, I think that we have a responsibility to make sure that they are protected. Companies like Walt Disney and even the new AI images that are generated have a very, very powerful effect on our children and how they see the world. Now, the last thing I want to show you, this is a depiction of the 1957 Central High School integration, where the 9 students were trying to integrate the school. It sits on right off of Martin Luther King Drive in Little Rock, Arkansas. And then there's a picture of Dr. Martin Luther King on the end. And so, yeah, that's a barbershop. For all of my diehard artists who live art and breathe art, this is something that I'll be doing new. This is my pick of the month for the art movie. It's called The Best Offer. I'm sure that you're going to enjoy this one. Has a little twist in the end. Man, it was good. Me and my wife love watching this one. So check that out when you get a chance. Oh yeah, and disclaimer, this movie is restricted, it's R-rated. So if you're a young artist, this movie is not for you. Go find you something to do, get you some business, go draw, paint, or practice your dance moves. But this movie is not for you. Papa Ghost will catch you on the next video. And remember, go help others succeed. Shalom.